Hello, welcome to the Title and Total Compensation Job Description Orientation session. We are grateful that you have decided to spend time learning about the job description process. The Title and Total Compensation study originated with HR Design. HR Design was the initiative that enabled the UW-Madison campus to create its own HR system, separate from the state personnel system. One key recommendation of HR Design was to complete a title and total compensation study. Over the past year, we have engaged many individuals across the UW-Madison campus in the first phases of the study. Today's session will update you on the study progress and prepare you for the next steps, the job description process. This is our agenda for today. We'll spend a little time talking about where we've been, what we've accomplished. We'll give an overview of the title and total compensation study so you can see the whole study and what it entails. Spend a little time talking about the job framework that this campus as well as UW's system created together. The majority of the time today will be spent on the job description process and your role in the job description process. At the end of the presentation, we will spend a little time letting you know what's coming up next. And then most importantly, we do want your feedback on the job description process. A goal of the study is to build a title and total compensation structure that helps employees advance in their careers at UW-Madison and allows our campus to attract and retain talent. This directly aligns with one of the key goals within the strategic framework from the Chancellor's Office. And that goal is to ensure our ability to attract and retain talent by making progress toward competitive compensation relative to our peers and market medians. The study is geared to fulfilling our strategic goals by creating relevant and market-informed titles and pay ranges. The study will benefit you in 3 ways. You will see how your job and title compares to positions across campus and at other organizations. There will be an emphasis in the study on identifying clear and consistent criteria in each level of a job series. Therefore, it will be more evident what skills and abilities are needed to seek advancement opportunities at UW-Madison. Managers will have better data, tools, and training to make decisions regarding pay and promotional opportunities for employees. A big change will be having salary ranges that are based on competitive market data. The Title and Total Compensation Study is a 2-year study. The study began late in the spring of 2017 and is expected to end in the spring of 2019. So, what have we accomplished? In phase 1, we completed the planning for the project. This included developing a project plan, communication plan, and getting Mercer, our consulting partner on this project, up to speed on our organization. A key component of this phase was Mercer meeting with various stakeholders across campus. In those sessions, Mercer heard what is working well, what is not, and the hopes various individuals and groups have for the future of the compensation and titling systems. We are currently working simultaneously on phases 2, 3, and 4, as you see in red. In phase 2, we completed the initial development of the job framework, which consists of grouping of jobs by function and career level. In phase 3, we have begun identifying and mapping appropriate market data to the job framework. In phase 4, we have identified peer organizations to compare our benefit and leave packages. Mercer is currently obtaining information from these peer organizations. So what's up next? Phase 2, we will develop standard job descriptions and prepare our campus to utilize standard job descriptions to refine individual or group job descriptions. We will continue to refine our market benchmarks that attach to our job framework, and we will analyze how benefit and leave programs compare to our peers. What are the benefits of the new model, and what problems are we trying to address? Currently, we have job titles that include jobs performing very different work. In the future, the goal is to have jobs grouped that are performing similar responsibilities. Having jobs appropriately grouped together will allow employees to better navigate career advancement opportunities. Employees will be able to identify jobs that are performing similar work with similar competencies and more clearly see advancement opportunities. By having jobs grouped together that are performing similar work, it will also be easier to match our job titles to the marketplace. This will allow us to link our new pay grade structure to market data. In addition, in the past we have had two formats for job titles and progressions, one format for university staff and one for academic staff. This process will standardize the formats and make for better and more clear career progressions. Now I would like to talk a little bit about the uses of job descriptions. There are many uses for job descriptions. I will just name a few. First of all, it's important that we have something that documents the primary duties, essential activities, and requirements typically performed in each job. A job description helps us clarify hiring requirements and give guidance to applicants about the components of a job. Job descriptions ensure that employees have a clear understanding of their responsibilities. It helps to communicate expectations between the manager and the employee. It also provides a basis for job evaluation, how we grade a job, how we market price a job. This also helps us to have equitable pay ranges in our salary structure. Job descriptions provide employees with information about jobs that lie ahead on career paths to help them think about future career opportunities that may exist in the organization and what they need to do to get there. So what is an effective job description? Well, first of all, an effective job description is one that is updated periodically to reflect significant changes in duties and responsibilities. Secondly, an effective job description is one that follows a consistent format that employees can easily understand. It's also important for an organization to use consistent organization-wide definitions when writing job description. This helps increase clarity when comparing positions. It's also helpful when an organization uses career path and level descriptions as a platform for writing consistent organization-wide definitions. An effective job description is one that reflects the principal elements of a job. An effective job description should describe a job, not a person that works in the job, and describe essential responsibilities rather than specific tasks. It will also describe physical demands required to perform that job. So in contrast, what are the characteristics of an ineffective job description? A job description should not be a task list. It should be a description that describes the position, but not necessarily all the details of the duties performed. It's also important that a job description does not exaggerate or downplay the importance of the job. Ineffective job descriptions are ones that list qualifications that are not really needed for the job, or a job description that overestimates or underestimates the qualifications necessary to be successful on the job. Certainly, it is not effective to have an out-of-date job description, or one that is too long, so it lacks focus, or too short and doesn't provide enough clarity regarding the role. Now let's go into our new process in a little bit more detail. As I mentioned, each job will have a standard job description. The standard job description will include the responsibilities that are typically performed by the majority of the positions in that job title. Every position will be assigned a standard job description. Let's take the administrative assistant position as an example. There are many administrative assistants across campus, and there are responsibilities that are common to the vast majority of those positions. However, many administrative assistants will have some responsibilities that are unique to an individual position, or potentially a small group of positions. Managers and employees will review the standard job description mapped to their job, and then they will add significant unique responsibilities that apply only to their job. So what are the advantages of this new system? Greater consistency in job descriptions for similar jobs. By starting with a standard job description rather than a blank sheet of paper, we will create unique job descriptions that are more similar and have similar language, and thus will be clearer to employees. Also, there will be less time spent in creation of job descriptions because managers and employees will have the opportunity to start from an already existing standard job description. We will have the ability to use current language for all of our job descriptions and update that periodically through our standard job descriptions. Lastly, career advancement transparency. The beauty of the standard job description is that an employee can see what is ahead for them in the next level of their job series by looking at the standard job description for the next level up. An example of our current state is represented in this slide. Currently, there are some titles such as Student Services Coordinator, where employees in that title may perform very different work. This slide shows a number of working titles that currently today are placed within the Student Services Coordinator official title. As you can see from this list, there are probably people in this Student Services Coordinator job title that are doing very different work. In our new system, we will work hard to group together jobs that perform similar work and that can be matched to the market. So I've walked you through the benefits of our new job description process. Before I go any further, I would like to make sure everyone is familiar with the job framework we created. Some of you may have participated in the Job Family Forums last fall, where we worked together grouping jobs at UW. There was a lot of good work that went into this process, and we thank everyone for their contributions. The campus's input helped to define our job groups or job families and develop the job framework you see here. So, what is a job group or job family? It is a group of jobs involving similar types of work and requiring similar training, skills, knowledge, and expertise. One way to think about it is to think about a closet. Many of us, perhaps not all, group similar clothes items together in our closet so that we can easily find them. In a similar way, job groups are a grouping of jobs in a sensible way that allows employees, applicants, managers, and the organization to see how a job fits into the bigger picture. It also fosters equity by identifying those jobs that are similar. In addition to the grouping of jobs into job groups, we also further define jobs into subgroups. A subgroup is really just a more specialized grouping of jobs. Listed here are the subgroups within the Academic Services and Student Experience job group. So back to that closet example. If the job group is the grouping of types of clothes in your closet, say pants, shirts, and skirts, you might go a step further and refine those in terms of that initial grouping into casual pants versus work pants. This would allow you to easily choose the particular pair of pants that you want to wear on a given day. Another component of our job framework is the establishment of career paths. Remember when we spoke about what makes an effective job description, and we said that organizations that utilize a career path and level descriptions to write their job descriptions have a better chance of having effective job descriptions? Well, once a job is placed in a job group or in a subgroup, a few other determinations are made. First, the job is placed in one of two career paths, either the organizational contributor path or the manager path. The organizational contributor means the primary purpose of the job is to complete work. While a job on the organizational contributor path could supervise one or maybe even two people, the main purpose of the job is to perform work directly. This could be work such as performing strategic financial analysis, caring for animals, or writing grant proposals. The manager path means the primary purpose of the job is to contribute through managing others. Typically, a job that falls on the manager career path will have at least 3 people. But this will not always be the case, and it will not be an absolute requirement. Jobs on the manager path spend a considerable amount of time managing people, determining staffing plans, managing a budget, and overseeing development of a program and all the administrative details of that program. Next, after selecting the organization or manager path, the job is placed at a level. There are 8 possible levels in the management path and 8 possible levels for the organizational contributor path. However, most title series will only use 3 to 5 of those levels. Some may only have 1 or 2. The level the job is placed at is determined by level criteria that has been in place in the compensation and titling profession for many years. And thus, the same criteria that we use today in our current titling system will be used in our new system. The components or factors that we will consider are organizational impact, complexity of work, level of independence required, type of leadership performed, and the knowledge, skills, and experience needed to perform the work. When we think about organizational impact, we think about the scope of that job, how it will affect the department or the college or the division or even the organization. When we think about the complexity of the work, we think about how many different concepts must be considered when making a decision in this position. How difficult are those concepts to understand? And does the job require creation of novel approaches to address those issues? Another consideration is the level of independence that is required. Question there is the work defined by standard guidelines or by direct supervision? Does the job require the employee to determine themselves what needs to be done and how to complete it? We also factor in whether the job is responsible for leading, guiding, managing, or developing other employees. And we also factor in what is the typical knowledge and experience that is needed to perform the duties of the job. Now, I must point out that this is different than the knowledge and experience that an employee has. For example, you could have an employee who has a PhD and 20 years of experience that has chosen to perform a job that does not require that level of education or experience. So this shows an illustrative example of how titles could compare at different levels. Titles will be determined in the fall after we have received information from employees and compared our work to external surveys. But as you can see here, potentially you could have 4 levels of career counselors that would be mapped to the organizational contributor level 3 through 6. So, to summarize, our job group, subgroup, career path, and level all come together to make up our new job framework. So let me walk you through an example. There's a person named Susie who works as a career counselor. This work fits within the academic services and student experience job group and in the career services and student professional development subgroup. Susie currently performs duties at the intermediate level in the job that she is in. That's what's required for that job. Therefore, her position would be mapped to the organizational level 4. It's important to point out that there are some jobs where the responsibilities may be part of more than one job family or job group or a subgroup. An example is a web designer. A web designer could include communication and marketing responsibilities as well as information technology responsibilities. Since a job can only belong to one job group, a determination will be made which job group is more aligned with the overall job. Questions that will be considered are, why does the job exist? Where does an employee spend most of their time? And what are the skills and abilities that are most critical to success in this job? The benefit for employees of a job like this is that they will be gaining competencies and skills in multiple job groups and therefore have more opportunities for career advancement. To have more consistency in our job descriptions, each job will now start with a standard job description. An example is shown on the left. This is an illustrative example since no job descriptions have been finalized at this point. For purposes of simplicity, we are only showing 3 typical responsibilities. It is likely that standard job descriptions will have at least 5 major responsibilities. In this example, we show that one standard job description could be used to create 2 individual job descriptions, Career Services Counselor A and Career Services Counselor B. Let's look at those descriptions. When creating an individual job description, a manager and employee may add additional responsibilities that are essential to the job and require a significant amount of time. Usually this will be 10% or more of the time. As you can see in this slide, everything in black came from the standard job description. Both positions have the same language for those duties that are carried over from the standard job description. Everything in red are unique to a specific job. Sometimes an individual job will not perform all of the typical responsibilities in a standard job description. In those situations, the responsibilities of the standard job description will be seen, but they will show a percentage of time on that function as 0. So this slide shows the new job description format. The first section shows basic information about the job. The second section, called Organization, shows where this job is located. So for example, if this was filled in for a specific job, it would show what division or what department that position was located in. It also shows how does this job fit into the job framework. So as you can see, career path and level, it's showing OC2. That stands for Organizational Contributor at the 2nd level. Then it provides some information about the job group and subgroup. Then there's a broad summary about why this job exists. And then we list the particular responsibilities for that job. This food service worker example happens to have 7 typical responsibilities. And we're showing the typical percentage of time there. It is worth pointing out that there is a statement up on top there that says other responsibilities may be assigned. The next section is Qualifications, which includes education and experience, and then another section that is Skills and abilities. Our new standard job description format will also have a place to list licenses and certifications that are either typical, preferred, or even required for this particular job. The next section, Physical Demands, is something that will be filled out for each position, and it will talk about what are the physical demands. For example, a particular job could say that standing is something that is done frequently. In that example, there would be an X placed across from standing in the frequently column. There's also a place to reference what kind of travel requirements are required in this job. Now I'm going to walk you through an exercise. The goal of the exercise is to provide the opportunity for you to map tasks from current job descriptions to responsibilities in the future standard job description. Remember again, we are moving to the standard job description to provide greater consistency between job descriptions where the work performed is similar, greater clarity for employees and applicants regarding career opportunities, and greater ease to match to the market data. Now I want you to take a few minutes reviewing the tasks of a current administrative support position, mapped to the typical responsibilities in a future standard job description for this work. The current tasks are on the left-hand side, A through P. The number in bold after each task corresponds to the typical responsibility in the box at the right. The box on the right shows typical responsibilities in the new standard job description format. So as you can see, this particular document is taking a current job description that is more task-oriented and mapping those tasks to the responsibility statements in the new standard job description format. Let's look at an example together. If we go to letter K at the left-hand bottom part of the page, it reads, prepare and process requisitions and direct payments to vendors, obtaining proper coding, upload and save documentation, assist finance staff with additional documentation as needed. We have said that that task statement corresponds to our number 3 in the new standard job description. In particular, that statement can be reflected in the statement prepares invoices. There will be some tasks that do not map. You and your manager will consider what to do with tasks in your current job description that do not map well. When you're considering what to do with those tasks that do not map well, some of the factors that you will consider are, does the task take at least 10% of my time? If not, are there a few tasks that I could group together to create a new responsibility statement? If not, does this task need to be in my job description? Or is there a better place where I could document this particular task, such as an orientation manual or a process task list? In this example of the administrative assistant, it might be possible if you look at number 3 where it says that they wanted to combine H&O into a new responsibility statement, assist office administrator in providing new hires office supplies and orientation, and ensuring new student staff have appropriate training and direction on assignments. There's an example of where they took the more task-based statements in H&O and created a new statement. Your feedback is integral to the success of the study. I just need to remind you that the job framework was built through the efforts and insights of many people across campus. Job family forums and listening sessions were attended by more than 3,700 employees. In these sessions, we received key insights that led to significant changes to the job framework. So now it's time for you to provide feedback on the job description process. Your feedback is critical to this process. It will help us to better design this process to meet your needs and the needs of your colleagues. So to answer the feedback questions, pause the video and click the feedback button at the bottom of the screen. Once you have given your feedback, you will come back to the presentation. Welcome back. Thank you so much for providing your feedback. As I mentioned earlier, it is critical for us to get this feedback on the processes that we plan to use in our title and total compensation study. So here are the next steps in the process. As you know, the next 2 weeks we'll be looking at job description orientation sessions. Then in the late summer and early fall, divisions will train managers and provide information to employees on the job description process. The job description review with employees and managers will begin in September and extend into the fall. It's important to note that some of you will work with your manager to create a specific job description specific to you. Others will work in a group setting because your job description is one that will be shared with others doing exactly the same work that you do. Others might work in a large group in a situation where there are very minor differences between jobs that many people hold that same position. If you have questions after completing this online presentation, please explore our website, go.wis.edu/ttc study. There is a Q&A section where you can get many of your questions answered at this point in the project. Also, please review the Job Framework tab, where you can find a video that shows how did we create the job framework. That section also provides descriptions of the job groups and subgroups. You may also email us directly at ttcstudy@ohr.wis.edu. Lastly, I hope you will take the time to complete a short survey. This survey will help us gauge whether this session was helpful to you. There is a button that you can click at the bottom of the screen in order to take the survey. Thank you so much for your time today. It's the participation and engagement of the campus that is going to make this title and total compensation study and the products of it great for our university.